minutes before everybody arrives, we're going to be going into our Nearpod. We're going to be continuing our investigating into the Forex market, which we started yesterday. Sounds about right to me. All right, we're going to be, there is a bit of language involved. There's a little bit of terminology. Hello, how are you? Good. Fantastic. Excellent. All right, there is a little bit of language used that terminology-wise that you need to make sure that you are comfortable and happy with and very confident in the use of, right? Because it's going to be very clear to the examiner when you start answering some of the questions if you don't know the words, all right? Or if you use the wrong words in your analysis, etc. That's going to be quite important, all right? All right, so it is good to see you all. Now we're going to jump into our Nearpod in a couple of seconds. I have shared the link to the Nearpod, so you will be able to jump in there. All right, just wait for 1:50. Everybody is coming. It's good to see you all. Our son has actually done most of his lessons today, which is the first time in, I think, ever, where normally he will complain. But no, he has actually done it all, which is really good. Right, right. So let's jump into the Nearpod. It is a code of, hello Zitong, how are you?
Good.
Excellent, good to hear. All right, so we're going to do the presenting screen. And then we're going to jump to our Nearpod. Now our Nearpod for this lesson is CFS3E, CFS3E. Now that should be in the classroom as well. All right. And it should be up here in the code here. Right, now we've been looking at foreign exchange markets, and the very first one that we've been looking at is called a floating exchange rate. Okay, and that's where we talked about how the exchange rate, which was the value of one nation's currency in terms of another, right, where that value would change, would move up or down, dependent on the supply and demand for that particular currency. Okay, so did I do one before this? No, okay. So here we have an increase in demand for this particular currency. So this is supply and demand as we understand. There is the exchange rate there. All right, I don't like that it's P, I really don't. Realistically, you could do ER for that, ER1 and ER2, or you could do whatever the currency is. Say if this is US dollar to Malaysian ringgit, you could actually write it in there. So it could be an actual number, all right? And illustrating here, we've got an increase in demand, which is caused, because it's just as we see in a normal market, increase in quantity supplied, and an increase in this case in the exchange rate. Now there was a word that we used to describe an increase in the value of an exchange rate. Right? And it was a relatively long word, and it began with the letter A. Does anybody remember what the word was beginning with the letter A?
Appreciation.
Appreciation, well done. Yes, indeed. And you need to use that word, all right? Really can't stress that enough. It needs to be that exact word. So when this is happening, it is an appreciation under a floating exchange rate. When the value of the currency increases, it's called an appreciation. Right, and we did this one. What's happened here? So if we have a look, in this case, we've got there's supply, and supply has increased of this particular currency. And as we understand, because we remember this from our market models, as it has increased in supply, it has increased the quantity demanded, tracking down the demand curve, but the price, the equilibrium price, or in this case, the exchange rate, the equilibrium exchange rate has actually decreased. as supply has increased. So this here is another word. It's a relatively long word again, and it begins with the letter D. So let's go back to the meat. What word am I talking about beginning with the letter D?
Demand.
Close. Very close. A word meaning a decrease in value of the currency. Anybody own, maybe mum and dad own a car, a house, private jet, I don't know. Yeah. Right, you got the Mona Lisa sitting in your bedroom. Yeah. Those are assets. What happens to the value of an asset typically over time? Like those. What happens to the value of your car over time?
Depreciate.
Depreciates. It decreases in value. All right. Well done. So if we look back at the currencies. All right. So what's happening here is as the supply increases, the value of those currencies decrease. So that is a depreciation. Depreciation, decrease in the value. All right, so appreciation, it's increasing in value. Depreciation, it's decreasing in value. And as we said the other day, it's kind of like one of those seesaws. All right, so the idea is if your currency is appreciating, it actually means another country's currency is depreciating. If your currency is depreciating, it means another country's currency is appreciating. One of those effects. All right. Now, in this case, it's the supply that shifted. It could equally be demand. It could be demand decreasing. Could have been the other way. All right. All right. So then it's determinants. So now we need to think, just as we did with a normal market model, we need to think about the determinants of an exchange rate. So in this context, these are key parts of that exchange rate mechanism, right? The exchange rate model. And these are the things that are going to cause that exchange rate to either appreciate or to depreciate. All right, so here they are. The very first one says changes in demand for exports and imports, because your exchange rate is priced in different currencies. Okay, so if you are buying something from America, right, then you're going to need to pay for that good in American dollars. If you're buying something from Singapore, then you're paying potentially in Singaporean dollars. So if all of a sudden there's an increase in demand for those goods, then there's going to be an impact on the exchange rate because you're going to demand more of that currency in order to buy those products. Next one is about investment into a country. So if you are wanting to put some money into a bank account or buy some shares in America, all right, see that Apple company, hey, let's buy some shares in Apple. Yeah, if you're doing that, you are needing to pay for that in US dollars. All right, so if you're putting your money, you're converting it then from Malaysian ringgit into US dollars in order for it to go into an American bank account or to be an investment in a business in America, that's what needs to happen. You're then going to be demanding more of, in that case, American dollars. There's another one here that says tourism, and this is one that admittedly at the moment we're not going to see a lot of, but it is quite a big one with regards to exchange rates. You consider countries like Thailand, which have massive tourism industries, New Zealand, which has a massive tourism industry. There's going to be a lot of demand for the currency of those countries because the tourists will arrive and they'll need to pay for all of their hotels and transport and everything else that they have whilst they are there as tourists. So that's a big cause of an exchange rate movement. Then there's things that happen just normally as part of your economy, prices and inflation. So the prices of the goods and services themselves, it may cost you more to make it. So therefore, when other people try and buy that good from you, it's going to cost them more. They're going to need more of your currency. Similarly, if inflation is rising and you're wanting to sell your products, they're going to cost more because of inflation. and therefore other countries from other people from other countries, when they try and buy it, right, it's going to have an increase in demand for your currency, impacting your exchange rate. This next one is a word you may not have come across before. It's called speculation. Speculation. Now, you might have come across it before, I'm not sure. But the word speculation is like, I guess the closest that I can put it to is the word gambling. If you are speculating on something, you are guessing or gambling as to what the outcome of that is. All right. Now, this happens, a little bit with regards to currencies, where you guess which way the currency is going to go, and you're effectively going to place a bet on that. And that can put some pressure on the currency, on the exchange rate. And the last one is the governments themselves. Now, we know that governments have got macroeconomic objectives, right? Unemployment, they're trying to keep unemployment low, they're trying to control inflation, they might be thinking about income inequality, they might be considering even the balance of trade, which we will talk about, right? So they actually might want to directly intervene in the exchange rate. They might want to force it to be at a certain level, because that level then helps with regards to the state of their economy. So there's 6 determinants of movements of an exchange rate. So you can guess what I'm going to ask you to do next. I want you to explain 2 of them. There you go. Give you 30 seconds or so. All right, just 2. Have a go. All right, so explaining 2 movements of the exchange rate, 2 determinants, 2 things that will cause it to move. Yeah, I'm wanting to know what causes the exchange rate to move. So those determinants that we talked about just before. Excellent, Zitong, well done. Yeah, that's absolutely right, Liz. Well done, Nico. Good, Sinam. It's very good, young guy. Well done. Yeah, well done, Zafan. Good. Yep, you're right, Sonny. Well done. Give you about another 30 seconds. Good, well done. Good work, well done. All right, getting there now. Just a couple more to answer. All right. Yeah, there's some very good answers. Joshua's one. Joshua's one, so that's really good too. Well done, team. Good work, Amy. You've actually only answered one, by the way, just saying. All right, you need 2 determinants. Good. Excellent. All right. Now, what happens if it moves? Dum, dum, dum. Oh, actually, I've got something. Hold on. Let me find it. I discovered this. I've got a soundboard. I can make noises. I want a nailed it noise.
Nailed it!
That's not very good. Air horn. Ta-da! There we go. Ta-da. Ta-da! If the consequences of an exchange rate, what are they? Let's see. If the exchange rate increases, if we have an appreciation, customers might have greater purchasing power if there's an appreciation. So if we take, for example, the USA and the UK, then American consumers will need fewer dollars to buy goods from the UK. So they are more likely to buy UK goods. And appreciation makes people who are importing products happier. Right? It makes them cheaper. It makes them more affordable. So if there's an appreciation, yeah, your imports from the US or wherever should be cheaper, more competitive. Should be. Obviously, there's all sorts of other issues that come into play, like tariffs and everything else as well, but should be cheaper. And you might have had that. You might have had, I have this on time to time. I get an email from Amazon saying because of exchange rate changes, they're going to refund me X amount of money that I have spent. Next one, exporters, if currency appreciates, right, the exporters, the people sending the goods and services overseas, those people are going to be unhappy because the goods and services that they are attempting to export are now more expensive, and therefore they're relatively less competitive. So we expect less sales and less revenue for exports. So importers happy if it's an appreciation, exporters unhappy. All right. If you are importing raw materials, then your business, they're going to get cheaper. So you're going to be happy with that. So the rule of thumb is appreciation, importers, and that could be any general consumer or a business with raw materials, any importers are going to be happy, any exporters, they're not going to be happy. Right? Yes, you can make an argument about the size of the fluctuation, whether it appreciates by a lot or a little. Right? You can make arguments also about it, tariffs, etc., being placed on there as well. So those are consequences of an appreciation. So next trick, explain 2 consequences of a floating exchange rate in the sense of an appreciation. I haven't worded the question very well. 2 consequences of an appreciation is what I'm after. All right, so 2 consequences of an appreciation. That's what I'm after there. 2 consequences, just 2, of an appreciation. Good. Well done. Very good, Joshua. Very well written. Excellent. Keep going, have a go. Good. Goodness me, Tom, that's very complicated, but well done. It's absolutely right. Very good, Zen. Excellent. Well done, Farah. Absolutely right. Good. Okay, well done, Liz. Yes, very good, Joe. Doing well, team, doing well. Okay, good work, Sonny. All right, about another 30 seconds. All right. Okay, now, all right, what about the impact on our macroeconomic objectives? Here we go. Now, very straightforward, because as we saw, if there was an appreciation, it meant that our imports were cheaper, but our exports were more expensive. So therefore, depends on how we are relying perhaps on our exports more than our imports, but that's going to lead to what's called our balance of payments being affected, right? We're going to lose revenue on our exports. Okay? Now, our exports minus imports, so X minus M, is what we classify as our balance of payments. Okay? So if we have less exports, maybe more imports, then our balance of payments is going to be more likely to be negatively affected. We're going to have a look at what that means in another subunit very soon. For employment, well, we've got all of those people who are exporters and all of the people who rely on those people who are exporting for income and employment. So they're going to lose their jobs potentially, and then they don't have the income to pay for other pay for other goods and services, and that affects them. So there could, if your economy is very export-based, it could cause some real employment problems. Similarly here, you've got your importing industries and businesses that rely on importers. Well, they're going to earn more income, right? Because they're going to get cheaper products, potentially. So you might then end up having more employment in those industries. Now, this next one's a bit tricky, because if imports rise in price, it could actually lead to inflation. So one of the classic examples is oil prices, okay? So at the moment, oil prices are actually falling, but very quickly, they could actually turn around the other way and then go up, in which case we might end up, if we're importing a lot of oil, we might end up actually importing inflation. And of course, economic growth. If there's less exports, then we expect to see less income and less jobs, maybe higher unemployment, less economic growth, and less tax revenue for the government. So you can see how all of this could be a real problem. Now, we've just talked about appreciation. We haven't said how big the appreciation might be, but some countries, the appreciation just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. All right, now let's have a look at the next one. How can the exchange rate affect our macroeconomic objectives? Go. here we go. How does it affect our employment? How does it affect our economic growth and income levels? Well done. Well done, Senna. Very good. Okay. Yes, that's good. Yes, well done, Joshua. Oh, very good, Zen. Look at that. Well done. Yeah, good work, Senna. Okay, about another 30 seconds. Yes, it does, Nico. You're right. Yeah, you might want to add a how it affects economic growth. You're right here with the fewer exports and less income. Right. I mean, maybe you could put that part of the sentence here. So fewer exports, less income affecting economic growth. There. Yes, that's right, Sonny. All right. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlebeans, let's stop the share and go back to the meat. All right. So here's the thing. We've got a floating exchange rate. All right. It's determined by the forces of supply and demand. So that's what determines the equilibrium exchange rate. All right, that's what determines whether there's an appreciation or whether there's a depreciation. One of the things we need to know is, well, the model and how to illustrate, yes, but we need to know what the effects of an appreciation on the economy are and what the effects of a depreciation on the economy are. So we want to know about who's going to be happy and why, and then what overall effect that might have, say, the appreciation on government macroeconomic objectives. At the end of the day, what we're looking at is around about 4-mark questions. Sometimes they might bleed into a 6-mark if you are then expanding it further into a whether or not sort of question. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish there for the day. Okay, I'm going to write you some tasks. Big thing I want you to keep doing, and I'd like you to do this consistently, please, is to work your way through elearneconomics.com. Regular exercises, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, just practicing those key skills and key understandings as you go through. All right. I know we've moved your exam to obviously now potentially through to January. All right. But that's not that long away. All right. Okay. Okay. Now, next week, one of the things, you've got a short week this week. You've got some break time, mental downtime, which is good. Spend time, enjoy your family. Don't annoy them. You've got all of that to look forward to. But next week, one of the things I'd like to do is to have another go at a practice question, potentially. Yeah, practice question. We're going to go a practice question based on a floating exchange rate, right? And just see what the sort of level of depth that they're wanting to do. So we'll have a go at that on a floating exchange rate, and we'll do one of those next week. So if you do some revision between now and then, and if you have any particular questions, what does appreciation mean again? Send me an email and we'll be able to go through it. Otherwise, as we say in the land of my birth, e konera, which means goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. See you. See you. Bye.
Mr. David, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, like I don't really understand the depreciation graph. I understood that like the depreciation is like the decrease in value of currency.
Mhm.
But like is it because the supply increases or the demand decreases?
Either.
Oh, okay.
In the market, it's one of those, it depends. So if demand decreased, then yes, that would lead to a depreciation. Equally,
Yeah.
if supply increased, that would also lead to a depreciation.
Okay.
Right? It's one of those things.
Okay.
It's actually a very fast-moving market. All right, and that's something that I haven't mentioned before, and I will, maybe. All right, but it is a very fast-moving market.
Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.